The first time you opened your eyes after being blind for 18 years, you discovered that your wife, who shared your bed, was actually the reigning empress. And the maid you teased by pinching her cheeks every day was none other than the peerless sword fairy, the best in the world. Even the yellow dog wagging its tail at you at home was actually a primordial demon that had lived for 300,000 years. The Empress feared you might be exploited by those with ill intentions, so she had the people in the palace pretend to be ordinary folks. But what she never expected was that you weren't truly blind. You had willingly sealed your eyes and divine senses, because you, who had arrived by transmigrating into a book, awakened the blind sword saint system. As long as you sealed your eyes, you could continuously grow stronger and receive exquisite rewards from the system. When you first became blind, because you couldn't adapt and had no cultivation at all, you almost starved to death on the street. It was then that you met a young lady from a wealthy family. She claimed she needed to fend off her family's pressure to marry and asked you to enter a fake marriage to satisfy her parents. You, on the verge of starvation, gladly accepted. Thus began your blissful life being pampered by a rich woman. On this day, marking 10 years of your blindness, unexpectedly, you hit a stroke of luck and drew a celestial grade reward, the sword intent of space and time. Just a wisp of the surging sword intent within you, like a tsunami, split the sky open, cleaving the heavens with a single strike. You hurriedly suppressed the overwhelming sword intent. You hadn't yet become invincible in the world, so you had to keep a low profile. At that moment, Maid Suchenku rushed over in a panic. "Master, are you all right? What could possibly be wrong with me?" You pinched her smooth, tender cheek. It felt springy to the touch. Then you suddenly asked, "Chinku, do you want to learn swordsmanship?" Suchinku blushed and nodded, covering her face. "Yes, I want to learn swordsmanship. To protect madam and you, master." You clasped your hands behind your back, reminiscing. "Once an old man with a beard told me I had extraordinary bones, that I was a rare martial arts prodigy, so he taught me a swordsmanship manual. Called 5 years of sword practice, 3 years of simulation. He claimed to be Li Chunggong, the foremost sword master, even boasted that if heaven didn't give birth to him, Li Chunggong, the sword path would be an eternal night. I thought he was an old fraud. I skimmed the book and then used it to prop up a table leg. But some of the insights on swordsmanship in the book were quite good. Today, I'll share them with you." Suchinku knelt, looking up. At first, she was just acting, pretending to be very interested. However, the more she listened, the more astonished she became. Eventually, she unknowingly entered a state of enlightenment. Dense sword intent gathered around her, forming lotuses. After a while, Suchinku awoke, filled with shock. These insights had allowed her to break through to the first rank and reach the cloud ascending realm in one go. However, what she didn't know was that all these insights came to you after obtaining the system's sword intent. I remember quite a few of such insights. You can come often when you have time in the future. Upon hearing this, Suchinku's breath suddenly stopped. The emperor is indeed unfathomable. You stretched lazily and decided to go out and buy some groceries. In fact, the place where you live is the Taiji Palace, the empress's bedchamber. To conceal her identity, the empress specially had it flattened and rebuilt into a small village. At this moment, everyone in the village was looking at the astonishing sword intent above your house, each one of them filled with doubt. They saw you walking over with a cane. The Prime Minister, Zhang Kanghai, who was posing as the village head, greeted you enthusiastically. Seeing the village head, you suddenly remembered the reward you had received earlier, the dragon-seeking bone-touching hand, which, according to the description, was used for fortune-telling. So you directly placed your palm on the Prime Minister's face and groped around. Zhang Kanghai was almost furious. He was second only to one person and above 10,000 others. Usually, no one would dare treat him like this. Unexpectedly, you then said in confusion, "You old guy, your fate is extraordinary. You should be wealthy and noble, serving as a prime minister in the court. Yet here you are, hiding in this small village as a village head. You should really reflect on yourself. Have your salary increased over the years? Have you been working seriously? The veins on village head Zhang Kanghai's forehead bulged, and he was about to lose his temper. Unexpectedly, you went further and grabbed his nose, shouting, "Don't move! I see your forehead is darkened. There will be a disaster with bloodshed soon." The commander of the Imperial Guards selling wine next door kept a straight face. "We have undergone rigorous training. No matter how funny, we will not laugh unless we can't help it. Ha ha ha." Who would have thought that the influential prime minister of the court would have a day where someone grabs his nose and scolds him? Meanwhile, in the imperial study, Suchinku silently appeared behind the empress, informing her that the source of the sky-piercing sword intent was not found, and about her own breakthrough after listening to your insights. The empress didn't expect you to have such abilities. Originally, the marriage between Dongfang Liuli and you was just to silence the ministers in the court. But now you had piqued her curiosity. She decided to investigate further. Meanwhile, you finally let go of the village head and walked to the vegetable stall to buy some groceries. At this moment, the Crown Prince Zhao Gu, who was posing as a vegetable farmer, was squatting in front of the stall, planning how to incite a civil war in the Jin dynasty. Suddenly, a voice interrupted Zhao Gu's thoughts. "Vendor, do you have any garlic sprouts?" Without looking up, Zhao Gu impatiently waved his hand. "Are you blind? Can't you see for yourself?" You pointed to the black silk ribbon covering your eyes and said, "Indeed, I am blind." Hearing this, Zhao Gu was stunned. He looked up and saw you. His face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He had always dreamed of successfully rebelling and marrying the empress. "You have a grudge against him for taking your wife." Zhao Gu, with a darkened face, threw the dish over. "Brother, judging by your accent, you must be from Shu. I advise you to hurry back and bring your wife and son over. Don't stay in Shu." Zhao Gu, puzzled, asked, "Why? Why? The Prince of Shu is about to rebel. His good son Zhao Gu has already entered the capital, ready to stir up internal strife, to give his father a chance to seize power." You said with absolute certainty. As soon as these words were spoken, Zhao Gu's face changed dramatically. "Damn it! I haven't even implemented the plan yet. How did you know about it? Could it be that the news of my family's rebellion has already spread throughout the court? How did you know that the Prince of Shu intends to rebel?" Zhao Gu looked at you nervously, but the next moment you smiled mysteriously. "As a blind man, isn't it reasonable for me to tell fortunes?" Upon hearing this, Zhao Gu nearly choked. He immediately shouted, "Get lost as far as possible, or I'll kill you." Before he could finish his sentence, he saw the empress walking gracefully over. Zhao Gu's heart sank. "It's over. You must have heard what I just said. Why are you here?" You turned around and smiled warmly. "Just taking a walk. Happened to come across this." "What were you just saying? That the Prince of Shu intends to rebel? What's going on? I want to hear it too." In an instant, the street fell silent. Everyone turned their eyes towards you. This blind man said he could tell fortunes. He predicted that the Prince of Shu is going to rebel. He advised me to quickly take my family and flee from Shu. Zhao Gu shook his head and laughed. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the marketplace relaxed once again. Some people silently rolled their eyes. This star of the harem really is fearless in ignorance, daring to mock a prince in public. But you shook your head. Speaking seriously, I'm not talking nonsense. Ever since the empress ascended to the throne 3 years ago, Prince Zhao Yuhuan of Shu has been stockpiling troops and expanding his territory, recruiting practitioners on a large scale. Isn't his ambition obvious enough? The marketplace fell silent once more. Everyone stared at you in shock. What a bold statement, risking annihilation of 9 clans. Zhao Gu scoffed. And what does that prove? Can stockpiling troops The expanding territory alone confirm that the Prince of Shu is plotting a rebellion? You chuckled softly. Don't rush. I haven't finished yet. Hasn't the Prince of Shu's son, Zhao Gu, already entered the capital? This time, he led a team of assassins, ready to incite chaos. And Prince Zhao Yuhuan has already assembled 1,000,000 troops, waiting for Zhao Gu to create an opportunity for them. As soon as you finished speaking, Zhao Gu was completely numb. No way! Brother, are you a blind man with a map hack? He felt like there was a traitor among them, but the entire plan was only known to him and his father. His father is indeed leading troops, preparing to rebel. Could I be the traitor? Dongfang Liuli's tone was serious. She softly asked, do you have any evidence? All right. In order to prevent Jin from being destroyed, and to maintain the peace of the village, today I'll make everything clear to everyone. According to my calculations, the assassins led by Zhao Gu must have infiltrated the residence of the current Prime Minister. They will assassinate the Prime Minister any day now. Zhang Qinghai's face turned dark. A bloody disaster. This blind man truly predicted it. The Empress waved her hand. The commander of the Imperial Guard immediately rushed to Zhang Qinghai's residence. It was quickly confirmed that the news was true. Zhao Gu completely lost his composure. This is absurd. A plan devised over many years, and it was uncovered by a fortune-telling blind man just after implementation. Damn it! How can you play with hacks? The Empress, with a cold-killing intent, directly restrained all of Zhao Gu's spiritual power. Zhao Gu was taken away like a dead fish. Before leaving, he looked at you with hatred, but you were still immersed in the happiness of helping others. Brother, quickly bring your wife and children over. Meeting me, you've really had good luck. Not bad. Doing a good deed every day. Today, I've saved another person. You happily carried your vegetable basket, held the Empress's hand, and went home. Zhao Gu, hearing your words, was so furious that he spat blood. He fainted on the spot. The next day, lying on a bamboo chair, you suddenly heard a system prompt in your ear. Successfully suppress the protagonist of Destiny, Zhao Gu. Reduce the protagonist's destiny value by 500. Received a reward of a celestial-grade spiritual herb, the 9 sun-scorching heart lotus, and 100 pounds of celestial-grade dog food. It seems the village head reported what I said at the market. The 9 sun-scorching heart lotus is a treasure, even if it is useless to him. This herb can cure the Empress's cold ailment. The Empress had gone through great lengths, but couldn't find it. However, you don't plan to offer it to the Empress. Interacting with the Empress doesn't fit your cautious way. It's better to use it for your own wife. Dongfang Liuli is just an ordinary person. After consuming it, she could extend her life by at least 100 years. When you think of it, you do it. You plucked a petal of the 9 sun-scorching heart lotus, crushed it into juice, then put it in the celestial-grade spiritual treasure, the all-beast pot, to boil, adding neutral celestial-grade herbs, to make an ordinary-looking medicinal porridge. Oh no! Did Liuli go out? This porridge won't taste good if it's cold. Holding the bowl, you slapped your forehead. Suddenly, a breeze blew. The courtyard door was pushed open from the outside. Dongfang Liuli walked in with a smile. She said, "It's only been half a day, and husband already misses me." You raised an eyebrow. Woman! You're playing with fire. Don't you know that in my previous life, I was called the grandmother of love? There's a saying that goes, if she hasn't seen much of the world, take her to see its splendor. If she has seen it all, then take her to ride a merry-go-round. So you smiled and handed the bowl of porridge over. Welcome back. Here, have a bowl of porridge to relieve your fatigue. This scene, like the ordinary life of a small couple, simple but warm, plain and unremarkable. Yet it's the kind of beauty many can only dream of. The Empress, usually cold and noble in court, was stunned. She stared at the bowl of porridge being handed to her, then looked at you, blindfolded with a calm demeanor. For a moment, It seemed like her heart was struck. After a long while, Dongfang Liuli silently took the bowl and drank a sip of the porridge. Suddenly her eyes widened. This is... Boom! Dongfang Liuli's heart was in turmoil. The 9 sun-scorching heart lotus. This feeling was just like something she had been searching for years without success, suddenly turning around to find it had become a bowl of plain porridge, held in your hand, simply handed over like this. Dongfang Liuli savored the porridge in small sips. Her previously troubled heart became light and joyous in an instant, became gentle. Is it good? You took the empty bowl from her and took out a handkerchief to wipe the corner of her mouth. Dongfang Liuli's mind went blank. The series of events made her forget her identity as the empress, forget her expertise in controlling others. For the first time, she felt the warmth of a home. For the first time, someone helped her alleviate her worries. For the first time, someone wiped the corner of her mouth. Feeling the warmth spreading through your entire body, the strands of scorching sun energy melted away the cold ailment in her meridians. Dongfang Liuli looked at the person in front of her. A thought was born in her heart. She said, the Dongfang family has been court officials for generations in the Jin dynasty, and I'm a lady-in-waiting close to His Majesty. If I were to ask you to serve His Majesty, would you be willing? You refused without hesitation. No, I wouldn't. Seeing your resistance, Dongfang Liuli inexplicably got angry. Why? Am I a wolf or a tiger? I'm not going to eat you. Fine, you don't want to do it, right? I have my ways to make you do it. With that thought, Dongfang Liuli pushed the door open and left, leaving behind a single phrase. Suit yourself. I'm leaving first. What's going on? Backfired. A woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. You couldn't help but sigh, just as you were lounging on the bamboo chair. A sharp, piercing voice echoed through Jin Dynasty village. The emperor is here. The commoner Mangqing Zhou is summoned to see the emperor. A black question mark slowly appeared on your forehead. What? The emperor? Did I hear that right? You turned over, scratched your head. Then another sharp voice came. The commoner Mangqing Zhou. Come quickly to see the emperor. It really is the emperor. You jumped up immediately. You remembered the incident with Zhao Gu and suddenly realized it must be that the divine prophecy you made a few days ago had spread to the empress's ears. The empress had specially come to recruit you. The courtyard gate was pushed open. Su Chinku tried hard to hold back her laughter. Her face flushed red. While still pretending to be terrified, she pinched her throat to change her voice. Master, His Majesty is here. Hurry and come out. Su Chinku dragged you out of the courtyard. Commoner Mangqing Zhou pays respects to His Majesty. You immediately prepared to kneel. A eunuch hurriedly stepped forward to support you, preventing you from kneeling. Are you kidding? You, sir, are the emperor. How could we let you kneel before the emperor? Dongfang Liuli, wearing a beaded crown, leisurely leaned against the more than 10-meter-high imperial carriage. A smile played at the corner of her mouth. No need for formalities, sir. I have come specially to visit you. Would you be willing to serve me? Commoner is weak and incapable. Fearing I cannot undertake the task, you cupped your hands in salute. Dongfang Liuli said nothing and signaled to Su Chinku, who was standing nearby. Su Chinku understood, stepped forward and whispered in your ear. Master, please don't refuse. His Majesty has come here, determined to take you back. And the lady has also gone to the capital. She won't be back for a while. Don't you want to see her again? You pondered for a long time, then sighed deeply. Commoner is willing to serve His Majesty to the best of my ability. Dongfang Liuli smiled with her eyes. Can't get away without revealing your true identity. I will surely make you submit today. Today, I will force my way through. The more you resist, the more excited I become. The next day in the Golden Throne Hall, The empress, looking down from above, said calmly, "Minister Meng, your talents are outstanding, rarely seen in the world. I have decided to promote him to Deputy Minister of Rights. Do any of you ministers have any objections?" You almost laughed out loud. Isn't it dogs that have their tails up? At this moment, the Duke of Longsheng, eyeing Sheng, stepped forward. With disdain, he said, "A wild commoner, and a blind man at that. What qualifications does he have to hold a high position?" You squinted at him. Actually, you couldn't see who he was, but mocking you was like stepping on a steel plate. If the heavens hadn't given birth to you, Meng Qingzhou, the world would be plunged into eternal darkness. So you recalled a notorious villain from the future of the Jin Kingdom as described in the book, taking this opportunity to strike against evil forces. Last night, I calculated with my fingers. The Duke of Longsheng, eyeing Sheng, to break through to the mountain-shifting realm, practiced forbidden techniques, sacrificing and poisoning 100,000 people, losing all humanity. His sins are unforgivable. I have a summoning curse. If I recite it, it will reveal his true form. Then you recited a spell to yourself. In the next moment, the elegant Duke of Longsheng's face suddenly became hideous. Countless vengeful spirits seemed to be trying to break out of his body. Seeing this, the empress sternly ordered, "Take him away. Execute him by linky death by 1,000 cuts." Everyone was shocked. Could it be that this blind man is the legendary omniscient sage? A civil official sneered and said, "This man must have investigated the Duke of Longsheng beforehand. How could anyone possibly see the secrets of heaven? I have also calculated that in the future, there will be a great corrupt official in the Jin Kingdom. Seems like the third-place scholar in the imperial examination 3 years ago was involved in a scandal. At that time, his father bribed the chief examiner. Afraid that the examiner wouldn't know who sent the gift, he carved his son's nickname on the celestial grade blade he sent. The young official's lips turned pale as he lost all color. "It's over! He's coming for me!" The next moment, he was dragged out like a dead dog. At this moment, you suddenly let out a soft hum and walked up to the Prime Minister, Zhang Qinghai, as if no one else was around, groping around on his face. Zhang Qinghai's old face had no place to hide. This familiar feeling, the familiar method, everyone's hearts were on edge, faces filled with disbelief. Could the Prime Minister also have a dark history? At that moment, you spoke seriously. "Prime Minister, do you have a long-lost twin brother? In my hometown, there is a village chief named Zhang Dahai. His birth date and fate are very similar to yours. I suspect he is your long-lost twin brother." Zhang Qinghai almost lost his breath, but he had to lie through his teeth and said, "Zhang Dahai? Yes, I know him. He is my elder brother." The ministers began whispering among themselves. Never heard the Prime Minister had an elder brother. Is he his father's illegitimate son? Zhang Qinghai was filled with tears of grief. His family always valued their reputation the most. Now it was completely ruined, so he couldn't help but look at the Empress with resentment. The Empress, feeling a bit guilty, waved her hand. If there is nothing else, the court is dismissed. After the court session, just as you were about to head home and relax, you were unexpectedly called by the Empress. "Meng Qing, since you have no residence in the capital, why not stay with me for a while?" You were speechless. In the book, wasn't the Empress supposed to be cold and aloof? Why is she being so warm towards me? You helplessly explained. "Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty, but I have a wife waiting for me at home. I'm afraid she's worrying if I return late." The Empress carefully pondered the word wife. A strange feeling welled up in her heart. "I am curious. Do you really like your wife that much?" Recalling some cheesy love lines from your past life, you said with deep emotion, "In this vast world, I love 3 things. The sun, the moon, and you. The sun for the morning, the moon for the evening, and you for morning and night." The Empress's face turned red instantly, like a boiling kettle. Her heart was pounding wildly. In her cold and aloof demeanor, She had never heard such straightforward love words. She quickly ran away with a red face. You were baffled by the Empress's sudden behavior. Scratching your head, you quickly went back home. At that moment, a fragrant breeze blew in front of the courtyard. Wife, why are you outside? Waiting for you. Dongfang Liuli blushed slightly and spoke softly. After a while, you walked leisurely in the spacious courtyard, looking satisfied. Now I am a homeowner in the capital too. Suddenly, a dog came over, barking at you incessantly. Shoo! You kicked it away. Can't you see the man of the house has come home? No sense of tact at all. The mighty guardian beast of Jin dynasty rolled over twice on the ground and lay there lost in thought. This isn't right. I am the guardian beast of the state. How could this blind fool actually think of me as just a dog? The yellow dog's eyes flashed with ferocity, ready to swallow this blind man in one bite. At that moment, you suddenly sensed a threat. You slightly released a wisp of space-time sword intent to probe. The yellow dog's fur stood on end with fear. The supreme killing sword intent. This blind man is a sword saint. Hey, we're all family here. The yellow dog ran over to you, wagging its tail and licking your pants. You laughed and petted the yellow dog's head. Su Chinku, watching from the side, was wide-eyed with amazement. Early the next morning, you planted all the flowers and herbs rewarded by the system in the courtyard, then took out the celestial grade dog food and put it in a bowl. Yellow dog, it's time to eat. The mighty divine beast of Jin dynasty was speechless. I am the dignified guardian beast of Jin dynasty. I once followed the founding emperor, conquering and expanding the realm. If not for my great mistake, which led to my power being stripped, and my transformation into a dog, I would be the strongest in Jin dynasty. How could I be so insulted? Today, I, yellow dog, would rather starve to death or be cut down by this blind man than eat this dog food. In the next moment, your head was pressed into the bowl. Just as it was about to struggle desperately, it suddenly smelled an enticing aroma, containing the essence of 10,000 spirit beasts and the flesh of divine beasts. The sun god lord's mouth hung open in a daze for a long time, then suddenly buried his head in the bowl, devouring frantically. Oh my god, this is delicious. At this moment, the two women also woke up and walked out of their rooms. 9 sun-scorching heart lotus, ethereal bamboo grass, pure sky Buddha hand flower, heart of the Tao tree sapling. Su Qingqiu's almond-shaped eyes widened in disbelief. Am I dreaming? Su Qingqiu rubbed her eyes, thinking she was still asleep. Lord God. Dongfang Liuli turned her head to look. Her vision went black. She stumbled, almost falling on flat ground, only to see the mighty guardian beast of Jin, the sun god lord, being held on a dog leash. At this moment, its dog head was buried in a dog bowl, eating voraciously. After finishing a bowl of dog food, still unsatisfied, the sun god lord sat on the ground, with its long tongue hanging out, looking expectantly at Meng Qingzhou with a dog's face. Su Qingqiu grabbed the dog bowl and threw it aside, taking out a piece of spirit beast meat from her storage ring. Lord God, you can't eat this feed. Here is some exotic beast meat from a special pasture, Su Qingqiu said as she untied the dog leash. However, the yellow dog disdainfully glanced at the meat. Bah! This thing is tasteless. It's useless. Then it voluntarily put the dog leash back on. Licking its face, it crawled to your feet, wagging its tail furiously. Master, I can't stand it. Please give me a little more. Meng Qingzhou, what kind of bewitching potion did you give the god? Dongfang Liuli asked in confusion. The dignified guardian, beast of the state 602. The sun god lord's mouth hung open in a daze for a long time, then suddenly buried his head in the bowl, devouring frantically. Oh my god, this is delicious. At this moment, the two women also woke up and walked out of their rooms. 9 sun-scorching heart lotus, ethereal bamboo grass, pure sky Buddha hand flower, heart of the Tao tree sapling. Su Chingquiyu's almond-shaped eyes widened in disbelief. Am I dreaming? Su Chingku rubbed her eyes, thinking she was still asleep. Lord God. Dongfang Liuli turned her head to look. Her vision went black. She stumbled, almost falling on flat ground, only to see the mighty guardian beast of Jin, the sun god lord, being held on a dog leash. At this moment, its dog head was buried in a dog bowl, eating voraciously. After finishing a bowl of dog food, still unsatisfied, the sun god lord sat on the ground, with its long tongue hanging out, looking expectantly at Meng Qingzhou with the dog's face. Su Chingku grabbed the dog bowl and threw it aside, taking out a piece of spirit beast meat from her storage ring. Lord God, you can't eat this feed. Here is some exotic beast meat from a special pasture, Su Chingku said as she untied the dog leash. However, the yellow dog disdainfully glanced at the meat. Bah! This thing is tasteless. It's useless. Then it voluntarily put the dog leash back on. Licking its face, it crawled to your feet, wagging its tail furiously. Master, I can't stand it. Please give me a little more. Meng Qingzhou, what kind of bewitching potion did you give the god? Dongfang Liuli asked in confusion. The dignified guardian beast of the state. 0616.part17.txt. Tari Liu. ChatGPT. Possessing the bloodlines of the Taodi and the Phoenix ancestor. Why have you become like this? You should know, the God Lord only transformed into a dog. He's not really a dog. What's wrong? I used to raise local dogs in my hometown. All the village dogs were closest to me, you said with a laugh, patting the dog's head. Dongfang Liuli was speechless, unable to reveal the true identity of the God Lord. She said helplessly, forget it. It's nothing. Then let me ask you, where did all those spiritual herbs and plants in the courtyard come from? You had already thought of an excuse for this question. You made up a story. What spiritual herbs and plants? This morning, an old man was selling vegetables at the door. He was very old, his beard all white. I felt sorry for him, so I bought everything and just planted them in our courtyard. Darling, you won't blame me for wasting money, will you? Dongfang Liuli twitched her mouth. These precious spiritual herbs and plants can't even be found in the entire national treasury. But to you, they are like common cabbages from the field. However, she didn't intend to pursue the matter. After all, she had hidden a lot of things herself. Since Dongfang Liuli was pretending to be a lady-in-waiting, she hurried out after breakfast. Su Chingku, on the other hand, followed you, preparing to visit the Prime Minister, Zhang Kanghai, at the Ministry of Rights. Master, yesterday someone from the palace delivered the court robes. Do you want to wear them? Su Chingku asked, holding the rank 3 dragon robe, poking her head out of the room. Meeting your superior. It should be formal. As practitioners of the cautious path, we must remain low-key. Wear it then. You nodded. Su Chingku had fully assumed her role as a maid. She personally helped you change clothes. Her delicate hands gently unbuttoned your garments. Her fingertips accidentally touched your firm chest. The cold and elegant sword fairy blushed, recoiling as if shocked. I'll do it myself. You still weren't used to being dressed by someone else. This is a maid's duty, Su Chingku replied seriously. After shyly helping you take off your top, she saw your chest. Su Chingku immediately turned red like a steam engine. Her face flushed, almost fainting. Then clumsily helped you put on the official robes. It took a full hour before she finished dressing you. Su Chingku was drenched in fragrant sweat, panting lightly. After resting for a moment, let's go to the Prime Minister's residence, you said with a smile, picking up your cane. Su Chengquiyu's pale face was still tinged with a blush, not daring to look at you. She mumbled, yes. Walking down the street, you heard the common folk discussing the events that happened at the Golden Throne Hall yesterday. Did you hear? The Empress has a penchant for blind men. Apparently, yesterday in the Golden Throne Hall, the Empress recommended a blind man to serve as the rank 3 Deputy Minister of Rights. I wonder how the only and legitimate emperor in the palace will feel when he hears this news. You also overheard some supposedly handsome young noblemen are all planning to find a stick to poke their eyes out, hoping to gain the empress's favor. Suchinku, wearing a conical hat, almost rolled her eyes, disregarding her image. These people are really full of themselves. The new favorite and the emperor are actually the same person. Who is spreading such nonsense outside? You, however, fell into deep thought, muttering to yourself, "This explains it. No wonder the empress is so warm towards me." A few days ago, in a cave outside the city, a young man screamed in pain, spitting out blood. He was the real Zhao Gu. The one in the city was a substitute created by his father, using countless rare materials and treasures. Unexpectedly, it was destroyed by that blind fool without doing anything. That blind man can foresee their rebellion plans. Meng Qingzhou, you have sealed your fate. Zhao Gu gritted his teeth and opened the 1,000-mile communication disc. A graceful figure slowly appeared. This person wore a purple dress, tightly fitting her prominent chest, outlining her enticing hourglass figure. Her fair skin glowed under the candlelight. With a charming and alluring smile on her lips, Zhao Gu concealed his fiery desire and instructed, "Wu Dai, kill someone for me." The Emperor of Jin, Meng Qingzhou, upon completing the task, "I promise, you will be reunited with your brother." Hearing this, Wu Dai's expression turned excited, her voice trembling. "I obey." After closing the communication disc, Zhao Gu sneered, "What a pity! Your brother has long been dead. If it weren't for your natural toxic body, I would have taken you into my chambers long ago." Wu Dai learned that the empress had a new male favorite, who was appointed as the deputy minister of rights. So she took the alias Li Dai and used her connections to become a 6th-rank official in the Ministry of Rights, planning to seduce you to assassinate the emperor. At this time, you were unaware of this and arrived at the Prime Minister's study. Inside, Zhang Kanghai was discussing matters with several officials from the Ministry of Rights. "Greetings to the Prime Minister." You started to bow. Zhang Kanghai quickly stood up to support you. Smiling, he said, "No need for formalities, Deputy Minister. Please sit." You didn't stand on ceremony and sat down opposite the desk. Cupping your hands, you said, "I have just taken office and came to pay my respects to the Minister of Rights. If there are any tasks, feel free to instruct me." Zhang Kanghai waved his hand. "There is nothing much to do. No tasks at the moment. Even if there were, I wouldn't dare to trouble you." Zhang Kanghai was eager for you to leave quickly. Hearing this, you were pleased, for you know that slacking off for a while is delightful, and slacking off all the time is even better. At this moment, a charming woman in the crowd curled her lips. She was Wu Dai, the assassin sent by Zhao Gu. This deputy minister has no cultivation. He definitely can't resist her charm techniques. Just as you were about to get up to leave, "Wait a moment." Wu Dai spoke up to stop you. Her soft, delicate hand rested on your shoulder. Her fingertips brushed against your chest. She softly said, "Please stay for a moment, sir. Hear what I have to say." You discreetly took a step back, trying to get away from this boundary-less woman. But after several evasive maneuvers, Wu Dai's delicate hand remained on your shoulder. You asked helplessly, "May I know who you are?" "I am Li Dai, a minor 6th-rank official, serving as the head of the Ministry of Rights." Wu Dai smiled lightly. In the distance, Zhang Kanghai's brow furrowed deeply, daring to openly flirt with the Empress's man. "Girl, you are truly bold. Do you want to test the sharpness of the Empress's blade?" Standing beside you, Su Qingqiu's pretty face was as cold as snow. Her eyes faintly sparked with electricity. Just as you were growing impatient, Wu Dai smiled and let go, maintaining a distance. First contact, she initiated physical touch, which could make some naive young men's hearts flutter, leaving just as they started to have thoughts, creating a sense of loss. A common tactic of a seductress. This woman is very manipulative. You grew wary. Wu Dai adopted a serious expression, looking at Zhang Qinghai. She said, Prime Minister, Deputy Minister Meng was idle at home on his first day in office. This could harm his reputation. You just tasked me with organizing the Empress's birthday banquet. The Deputy Minister to complete it. Her argument was flawless. Almost perfect. You couldn't help but admire. Sometimes when you want to use someone to achieve a certain goal, it's for their own good. Zhang Qinghai, thinking of your true identity, shook his head with a smile and said, All right then. Just as you say, organizing the Empress's birthday banquet is such a troublesome task. Now it's on you. You were so angry you wanted to knock this woman out with your cane. You had to accept the task. Leaving the Prime Minister's residence, the three of you walked down the street. Wu Dai smiled sweetly and said in a delicate voice, Deputy Minister, there is less than a day until the Empress's birthday banquet. To carefully discuss the details of the banquet, Wu Dai glanced at the cold and eyebrows slightly furrowed. This maid's cultivation is not simple. She must be sent away before making a move. Su Qingku sensed something, turned her head to look, her gaze indifferent and cold. Hey! Wu Dai smiled charmingly, meeting her gaze without fear. The two women's eyes clashed, sparks flying. While you walked in the middle, completely unaware. The world is vast, but eating is the most important thing. Work can wait until I am full and rested. You shook your head and refused. That's perfect. Li Dai has just arrived in the capital and doesn't have a place to stay yet. I would like to taste the Deputy Minister's cooking. Is that okay, sir? Wu Dai coquettishly asked. Su Qingku coldly retorted. Number. The Deputy Minister already has a wife at home. Please show some respect. Wu Dai blinked innocently. I just want to share a meal. I don't want anything else. You're just a maid. But you're acting like you have a lot of authority. Anyone who didn't know would think you were the Deputy Minister's wife. You quickly intervened between the two, and these two stunning beauties would start clawing at each other in the street. I'm a live-in son-in-law. I have to listen to my wife in everything. You can come along for now and see if my wife is willing to let you stay. Wu Dai couldn't believe it. A dignified rank 3 Deputy Minister is actually a live-in son-in-law. Master! Su Qingku was indignant and wanted to speak. Qingku, let's go! You said nonchalantly. Wu Dai, plotting secretly, heard the name Qingku. She looked at Su Qingku in disbelief. She is the famous cold and elegant sword fairy. Why is she serving as a maid to a blind man? Soon, your group arrived at the Qin residence. In the courtyard, a simply dressed woman, dressed like a housewife, wearing an apron, was bringing out steaming hot dishes from the kitchen. Hurry up and wash your hands for dinner. Dongfang Liuli turned her head warmly gaze quickly at you, shifted to the alluring figure of Wu Dai, who exuded a seductive aura. Who is she? My colleague, here to share a meal. You replied casually. A trace of displeasure flashed in Dongfang Liuli's eyes, but she said nothing. She smiled and said, All right. However, Wu Dai was utterly confused. Her mind felt like it was struck by thunder. Staring incredulously at Dongfang Liuli at the dining table, Wu Dai was restless. Your Majesty. Just as Wu Dai's red lips parted, Dongfang Liuli raised her index finger, giving her a warning glare, then pointed at Meng Qingzhou next to her. Wu Dai immediately understood. She hurriedly nodded and kept quiet, looking at the food on the table, never expecting to have the fortune of eating food cooked by the Empress herself. Wu Dai felt secretly delighted. She picked up a small piece of fish with her chopsticks and put it in her mouth. Spicy, salty ... and fishy. Wu Dai's vision went black. She nearly spat it out. What is this? How can it taste so awful? She covered her mouth and discreetly looked around, noticing that Meng Qingzhou and Su Qingku struggling to swallow with strained necks. Is it really that bad? Dongfang Liuli, initially full of expectation, noticed your expressions and sensed something was wrong. It's extremely bad. You nodded sincerely. It's delicious. Wu Dai gave a thumbs up. I think it's alright. Su Qingku silently picked up her tea to rinse her mouth. Dongfang Liuli nodded. She glanced at Wu Dai's devilish figure, especially lingering at her chest for a while, then pushed the whole plate of fish towards her. If you like it, have more. All right. Wu Dai's delicate eyebrows furrowed tightly. Her seductive eyes were filled with resistance. Finally, with her eyes closed, she finished opening her eyes. She seemed to see a kind face. Great grandma, you've come to take me. Look at you, devouring so hastily. Don't rush. There's more here. Dongfang Liuli smiled meaningfully, pushing the remaining dishes towards her. Wu Dai covered her mouth, dry heaving, drooling at the corners of her mouth, her eyes rolling back. You couldn't stand it any longer. Picking up the dishes from the table, you said, "Let me recook and improve these for you. This is my first time cooking. You mustn't waste it." Dongfang Liuli was displeased. Her tone unconsciously carried a hint of authority. Her phoenix eyes wide open. You smiled warmly. I misspoke. I'm merely perfecting some details based on your work. How could that be called wasting? You turned into a smooth talker, saying, like the emperor and his ministers. The emperor sets the direction, drafts the grand blueprint, while the ministers work on perfecting the details. The emperor's ideal blueprint. This is called complementing each other. Indispensable. Your voice was rich and gentle as your words fell. At the corners of your attractive lips. The courtyard fell silent. The empress was silent. The sun god lord woke up. The cold sword fairy dropped her chopsticks. The seductive assassin was greatly shocked. Is this a confession? A man like you with such sweet words, so thoughtful and handsome. No wonder the empress can't resist you. Suchinku, like a curious baby, hurriedly took out a small notebook to record, muttering to herself, seeming to memorize and recite. Wu Dai was truly enlightened today. She glanced at the empress, shocked to find the empress's small, fair ears had turned then looked at your face red, full of affectionate smiles. Your eyes filled with tenderness. And the empress and deputy also noticed the empress's started to turn crimson. Warriors. It seems like the empress has really fallen in love. What should we do now? It's all the emperor's fault. Even for being so good at charming girls, in both literature and martial arts, over the 9 provinces. In terms of love, she's just a 20-year-old innocent girl. A while later, you returned with several dishes. The empress picked up a slice of meat, gracefully and elegantly put it into her small mouth. A flavor she had never tasted before stimulated her taste buds. For the first time, she felt a bit hungry, wanting to ask for more to fill up. You were right. It's really delicious. The empress smiled brightly. For the first time in 20 years, she showed such a radiant smile. Then eat more. The empress revealed a toothy smile, her cute little tiger teeth shining under the sunlight, eyes sparkling. She said, staring straight at you. Of course. I haven't had enough yet. Suchinku pouted. She felt fed up before she even started eating, thinking secretly, Your Majesty, you're doomed. You've fallen in love. After half a day, the empress finally left, returning to handle state affairs. Deputy Minister, we should start planning the empress's birthday banquet. Wu Dai urged. No rush. You stood up, holding the dog's leash. Yellow dog, let's go. Take you for a walk. The sun god lord was speechless. Doesn't this dignified divine beast need any respect? You pulled harder, but found that yellow dog was squatting on the ground. You kicked him unceremoniously. Time to go poop. Get up quickly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good to do it in the courtyard. 3 black lines appeared on the sun god lord's forehead. Damn! Might as well fight it out with this blind man. This dignified guardian beast of the state. How could it defecate on the roadside? Besides, divine beasts don't need to defecate. I'll count to 3. If you don't get up, you won't get any more dog food. You threatened. The sun god lord got up decisively, licking your pant leg, acting cute. All right. Playing is fine, joking is fine, but don't joke about dog food. All right. Even a god will expect the fun of being a sycophant. You nodded in satisfaction, leading the yellow dog out. The 2 women had no choice but to accompany you in walking the sun god lord. The grand general of the state, Qin Fengyu, this is outrageous. He is the empress's uncle. This time, he was sent to the border to investigate. Almost half of the officials at the border had secretly pledged allegiance to Zhao Yuhuan. Luckily, he discovered this early. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Qin Fengyu quickly took up his pen and recorded the findings in a confidential report to be delivered to the Empress by his trusted aide. After reading the letter, Qin Fengyu decided to visit Meng Qingzhou to see if he could obtain a prophecy from the sage to find a way to defeat Zhao Yuan. Walking down the street, Qin Fengyu saw you from afar. Emperor Qingzhou. Qin Fengyu greeted warmly. Not far away, you were leading the yellow dog. Looking displeased. Hurry up and pee. We've been walking you for half the day. The Sun God Lord sighed, thinking that there were no familiar faces around, and Su Jingku, that little girl, would forget about it in a few days. The Sun God Lord steeled himself, closed his eyes, and lifted his hind leg against a big tree. You can't say. This feeling of freedom and unconstraint, it feels like flying. The Sun God Lord's dog face was intoxicated, spraying liberally. At that moment, a voice called out, Qingzhou! Hearing this voice, the Sun God Lord felt painfully as if closing his eyes. It's over. It's completely over. A lifetime of reputation ruined. But it was too late to stop, so he could only quietly finish peeing. Then, the Sun God Lord shook himself, calmly put down his hind leg, but his dog eyes lost their luster. Like a Buddha who has seen through life, indifferently turned back to glance at the utterly shocked Qin Fengyu. Qin Fengyu wondered if he was hallucinating. It had only been a few days. The dignified Sun God Lord was squatting by the roadside like a dog, urinating. The Sun God Lord turned his head not back to recognize him. Years of old friendship ended the moment you saw my black history. It's over, Fengyu. Just as he was stunned, you tugged on the leash, leading the yellow dog forward, joyfully placing your hand on the newcomer's shoulder. Blacksmith, what brings you to the capital? Come on, I'll treat you to a drink. Qin Fengyu's face twitched. Previously in Jin Dynasty Village, I'm here to visit the role of blacksmith Qin Sanhuo. Qin Fengyu laughed awkwardly. Wu Dai still turned her head and saw you chatting happily with the Grand General of the state was known as the Butcher. He once destroyed 6 nations. He was rumored to be the strongest in the Jin Dynasty. Even the Empress dared not neglect him. Yet in front of Meng Qingzhou, he seemed so humble and cautious. Wu Dai was almost numb with shock. Now, if someone told her you were a sword saint, she would believe it. Master, Su Jingku tugged at your sleeve and whispered, aren't you supposed to organize the Empress's birthday banquet? You slapped your forehead and said, what bad timing. I still have official duties. Brother Qin, let's catch up another time. You started to head home with the dog leash. Suddenly, a system notification sounded in your ear. The protagonist of Destiny, Zhao Gu. Reduce Zhao Gu's destiny value by 800. Receive the reward of the celestial grade technique. 20 years of experience. Transforms into 3 pure ones. You felt the spiritual energy in your body surging like a tsunami. Breakthrough. Late stage of the ocean overturning realm. From low to high, the realms cloud ascending, mountain shifting, moon glowing, ocean morning after the breakthrough, sky holding. You felt as if you could pierce the sky with a single finger and defeat all enemies with one sword. The celestial grade technique one Che transforms into 3 your pure scalp ones. Tingle. The technique of the 3 pure ones from the ancient myths. Not at all inferior to the space-time sword intent. You carefully read the technique's information in your mind. One Che transforms into 3 pure ones. Into 3 avatars, and each avatar is mentally connected to the original body strength. Absolutely heaven-defying. You felt completely satisfied. Zhao Gu is like a bringer of fortune. Returning home, you and Wu Dai finally started to discuss serious matters. Meanwhile, outside the city, Zhao Gu received news. All the traders at the border had been eliminated by Qin Fengyu. It's all that damned blind man's fault. I wonder how Wu Dai's mission is going. Zhao Gu took out a strange eyeball from his storage ring. This eyeball once belonged to a powerful figure who was known as the Invincible marked with double pupils. Could be monitored from afar regardless of distance. Wu Dai was naturally marked by it as well. Zhao Gu had great confidence and believed in her loyalty. After all, she still wanted to rescue her brother. A beam of light projected from the eyeball. Zhao Gu eagerly looked through it and saw In a courtyard planted with various strange spiritual plants, a handsome young man in a green robe, with a black silk ribbon covering his eyes, sitting opposite Wu Dai, who had changed her appearance and aura. What gift are you preparing for the Empress's birthday resting banquet? Her chin on her hands, her arms propped on the table, her beautiful eyes gazing intently at Meng Qingzhou. Meng Qingzhou smiled and said, I haven't decided yet. Wu Dai pouted. Then, sir, your dog is so well behaved. How do you train Yellow Dog? Meng Qingzhou replied seriously. If he doesn't behave, he doesn't get to eat. You're lying. I don't believe it. The two of them engaged in a playful conversation, colorful peach blossoms falling around them, creating a picturesque scene. A handsome man and a atmosphere was harmonious, like a pair of lovers flirting. Zhao Gu cursed. Internally, seeing this scene, Zhao Gu's vision went black. He fell straight backward. Wu Dai wouldn't betray me. There must be another reason behind this. Yes, she must be using her charm on Meng Qingzhou, but his face grew darker. There's no one else around. Why is she bothering with charm? Why not just kill him with one strike? Sir, how do you think we should arrange the Empress's birthday banquet? Wu Dai asked, resting her chin on her hands, her enchanting eyes blinking. You thought to yourself, simple. Isn't it just like a company team-building event? First, announce it to the world, signifying universal celebration. Then invite important figures to a banquet. After the meal, have some small performances. Everyone lines up to give gifts, followed by a martial arts tournament. Poetry, singing, and dancing all included. You took out a jade slip and handed it to Wu Dai. I've already prepared this. Just follow the plan on it. Wu Dai picked up the jade slip, pressed it to her forehead to check. You are truly talented, Wu Dai praised continually, casting countless flirtatious glances at all. She rubbed her dry eyes, feeling bitter inside. This really is like casting flirtatious glances at a blind slightly man. In the novel's plot, there was no character named Li Dai, but there was an assassin named Wu Dai. So, you tentatively asked, what do you think of Prince Zhao Gu? Wu Dai was startled at first, then sneered disdainfully. He's an arrogant second-generation rich kid, relying on his good father, bullying men and harassing women, committing all sorts of evil. His existence is a waste of air. At this point, Wu Dai paused, looking at Meng Qingzhou, softly said, Zhao Gu is not worth even a single hair of yours, not to mention, sir, you have a handsome appearance. Zhao Gu looks like Meng Qingzhou nodded silently. Wu Dai is no simple woman. She has exceptional talent in the spiritual and soul paths. In the later stages of the novel, Wu Dai's life becomes a great expert in the Dawn realm. Her younger brother has long been dead. Wu Dai is unaware, foolishly killing for Zhao Gu. Zhao Gu's face turned red with anger. In a fit of rage, he smashed a priceless nine-dragon cup. He roared, Sword Elder, kill this pair of dogs for me. An old, emaciated man in a black and white sword on his back, including Wu Dai? Yes, Zhao Gu said hatefully. All right. The Sword Elder nodded, neither humble nor arrogant. The next moment, the Sword Elder disappeared from where he stood. In the blink of an eye, there were only 2 days left until the Empress's birthday banquet. Wu Dai was extremely frustrated, nearly going mad. It's been several days. She still hadn't found her way to infiltrate the palace. Sir, Wu Dai has an unreasonable request. I would like to ask for your help. Wu Dai's tone was shy and bashful, easily arousing a man's protective instinct. Who knew that you would immediately wave your hand after hearing her? If it's an unreasonable request, then don't ask. Ah, Wu Dai was choked. She didn't expect you to refuse so decisively. She thickened her face and said, I want to ask you to help me get into the harem to see the Emperor. You asked in confusion. Why do you want to see the Emperor? Wu Dai wiped her tears pitifully. To be honest, sir, I am actually the Emperor's wife. He abandoned his family for his career. I want to see if this heartless man still has a conscience. As she spoke, Wu Dai started to cry. You rubbed your temples. So, Wu Dai was sent by Zhao Gu to assassinate the Emperor, trying to stir up internal chaos. You sighed lightly and said, the emperor's bedchamber. As a minister, how could I trespass? Wu Dai almost rolled her eyes. Anyone else could say that, but not you. You could charm the empress with a smile. The empress would pluck stars from the sky for you. And you say a minister can't trespass? Are you a proper minister? You're practically a rebel against the emperor. Can you accompany me for a walk? Wu Dai asked. You hesitated for a moment, but still nodded in agreement. So the two of you walked around the capital. Wu Dai hadn't felt relaxed and happy in a long time. She didn't need to exhaust herself trying to seduce others, but like an ordinary 20-year-old girl. Wu Dai felt more and more ashamed, well. Yet she harbored malicious intent. After spending half a day together, both of you were tired from playing. Wu Dai suggested going to Qingliang Mountain in the south of the capital to cool off, sighing inwardly. The reason you brought Wu Dai around the capital was to see if you could awaken her compassion. As expected, it failed. In the southern outskirts of the capital, at the top of Qingliang Mountain, you stood with your hands behind your back, looking into the distance, and said calmly, "Your real name is Wu Dai. You are an assassin under Prince Zhao Gu, trying to use me to infiltrate the palace and assassinate the emperor. Am I right?" Wu Dai's pupils shrank suddenly. She looked at you in shock, so you had seen through her all along. Wu Dai felt both ashamed and embarrassed. She didn't dare to look at you directly. "I'm sorry, sir." She condensed a soul needle and flicked it with her finger. An invisible and intangible soul needle instantly pierced into your forehead. Rest assured, the soul needle won't harm you. It will turn into threads to bind and control your soul. After the mission is complete, I will remove all traces. You won't be implicated. Your expression remained unchanged, standing tall as ever. Leaning on your cane, standing at the cliff edge, you said, "Killing you would cause trouble. Not killing you would be tantamount to harboring a criminal." You turned your head, revealing a cool side profile. Muttering, "What should I do?" Wu Dai felt like she was terrified by lightning. She staggered back a few steps,